Hello, everybody. All right, good news first. It's Thursday. Weekend is almost here. I have a couple of programming advisories that I want you to be aware of. First, let's start with the good news. My mouse, which my son threw somewhere in my office yesterday, causing it to fall apart, has been restored. Oh, yeah, it was until a second ago. So my mouse is now fully restored. I was able to find it, and all is right with the world that my mouse is working again. That is item number one. Everybody that's watching this, please be so good as to repost or share this video and help people find it. Um, I want to wish luck to the New York Rangers tonight. They have had a rough couple of games. If you're not a hockey fan, and I'm not, by the way, I don't think I could name two hockey players on the Rangers, honestly. But they're going into Game 6 tonight. They were leading 3 games to 0, and the Hurricanes won the last 2 games. So now, if they win today, they can end it, move to the next round of the playoffs. If they lose tonight, then they force a Game 7. Again, I don't follow hockey that well, but I think it's a fun thing for New York for them to be able to continue and maybe even make the Stanley Cup. I think it's a great thing for New York's economy because if you think about it, the longer this playoff series continues, the more folks are working. Not talking about the players who are paid regardless, but the vendors and all of the ancillary businesses that get to do all the bars and restaurants in the vicinity of Madison Square Garden, who are filled, who are packed whenever there's a hockey game, especially a playoff game. Charlie Green asks the question, "Hey Frank, when are you going to have Tom Likas on next?" Charlie, it's so funny that you asked that because I just reached out to Tom last week and he never emailed me back, which is very unusual for him. So I don't know if he changed his email address. Maybe I don't have his up to date email, but I am going to look into that and see when he'd like to come on with me again. But it is a great question. So best of luck to the Rangers. Again, I'm sort of a casual hockey fan. So no, that's even overstating it. I'm not really much of a hockey fan, but I think it's a great thing for New York if they're able to do that. All right, this video is going to be pretty brief. So those of you that are watching, the 4 of you on Twitter, aka X, and the 4 of you on Facebook, please be so good as to like and to comment and to share so that people in your feed will see. Thank you. And Tommaso, and great to hear from you. We missed you in Staten Island, so that people in your Facebook feed can discover the video. That's the only way to beat this Facebook algorithm. This video is going to be brief because I got a lot of things to do today. I have an extra hour of radio to do and some TV and a bunch of other things. And Rachel has a thing that she wants me to put together in the back, which is going to be a holder for our cushions in the backyard. And she assures me that it's going to be easy to put together. Those were her exact words. Should be easy to put together. Now, what I've noticed is something is always easy to put together if someone else is the person that is putting it together. Me being the someone else, we will see how easy actually is to put together. So we'll see where that goes. Jeffrey Dunn checking in. Hi, Jeffrey Dunn. I appreciated you watching the subscriber only video that we did this morning, and I appreciated your comments very much. Good to see you. All right. I have just been informed, just got the call a little while ago, that I have been asked to appear on the Dan Abrams show tonight. I have been on Dan Abrams' show on News Nation several times. That's one panel I did with Governor Jim McGreevey and another woman from Independent Women's Forum. Her name escapes me at the moment, but I know she's very popular and she has a following. There's Dan in the middle. And I always enjoy going on Dan's show. It's a fun show. It's a thoughtful show. It's an interesting show. And I'm a fan of Dan's. I read one of his books. There you see one of the books that's on his bookshelf. This one happens to be about Theodore Roosevelt. Obviously, that's the one that I read, but it's about a libel trial that he faced right going into World War One, and they called it the trial of the century at the time. So I'm going to be on tonight at 9 p.m. I hope everybody watches. That's News Nation tonight at 9 p.m. I'm going to be talking about the Kevin Spacey trial, not trial, well, trials, and the effort that a lot of people have made to get him uncanceled. You know, a lot of his former colleagues, Liam Neeson, Sharon Stone, bigwigs in the Hollywood community, are trying to get him uncanceled. And I think that I am so supportive of that. I think what he's had to go through is horrible. And I think he is a textbook example of the excesses of the Me Too movement. And he should have never been canceled. Never, never, never. So that's going to be tonight at 9 p.m. And I hope you will tune in. I might do a little behind the scenes video from the green room. That's probably only going to be for subscribers. If you want to subscribe, you can go to facebook.com/become supporter/Morano fan, or as Brandon always points out, if you're watching this video, you can just go to click the overview button under the comments box, then scroll to the bottom and click the subscribe button. Either way, that'll be probably tonight if you tune in. We did a subscriber only video this morning. We did a great panel, what I thought was a great panel, with Barry Goldsmith and Fred Rubino. I thought it was hysterical, and it was even funnier off air. So we made a special video of what was going on behind the scenes available just to the subscribers. So you can check that out if you're a subscriber, or if you become a subscriber for 99 cents a month, then you'll be able to see it. Grace Caton sending some love. Hello, Grace. Nice to hear from you. Jeffrey Dunn writes, Kevin Spacey is one of my favorites. Hope he can have a big comeback back. Yeah, Jeffrey, one of my favorite actors too. But even if he wasn't one of my favorite actors, even if he was somebody I didn't care about, he was someone that was convicted in the media without conviction. And that's not something that should happen to anybody. And I think that's totally inappropriate. And that's what I'm going to say to Dan Abrams tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on just with him or if there's a panel of folks. Gray Mary Shaw checking in. Hi to you, Gray Mary Shaw. Also want to wish a happy birthday to a number of people. My former assemblyman and the new and the president at Farrell. Lou Tobacco is celebrating his birthday today. Brian Kazuba is celebrating his birthday today. Number of other folks celebrating his birthday today. Someone I don't know, but is certainly worthy of celebrating in my mind, is Danny Trejo. You know Danny Trejo, the tough guy actor. He is the ultimate symbol of rising from rock bottom. He was sitting in prison, fearing the death penalty at age 24. He has put up a heck of a second act. The entrepreneur and legend has now 461 acting credits to his name, 6 restaurants, a record label, a beer company, and a merchandise line that sells branded spirits and coffee. So for somebody that was fearing the death penalty at 24, sitting in prison, for him to be where he is today is remarkably impressive indeed. And please, those of you that are watching, please be so good as to share this and send a like so other people can discover the Facebook telecast that you're watching. So, you know what? I brought this up before on the radio, but I have this shortwave radio, and this is really great. It works wonderful as a radio. It plays conventional, AM and FM stations. That's my station. So he was on California State University. James Golden on 770. But it's also a shortwave radio. And I have not really been able to discover any shows or anyone broadcasting on shortwave radio. If anyone follows shortwave radio and has recommendations of shortwave radio shows that I should follow, let me know. And because, I know there's a lot of wacky stuff on shortwave radio, and I'd love to be exposed to some of it, just to, hear something new and something different. I think, with the exception of a couple of shows, so much of what's on terrestrial radio is just so homogenized, so safe, so boring, quite frankly. I could use something that's a little dangerous if it's available on shortwave radio. Gray Mary Shaw saying, "You look good, Frank." Thank you. Thank you. I am going your direction with a little gray there, Gray Mary. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. So if you have shortwave radio recommendations, please let me know. Tonight, I am going to be filling in from midnight to 1 for Dominic Carter. I am looking forward to that. I hope everybody tunes in, and I would ask you to tune in, even if you don't typically listen from 12 to 1. Not, and you should, because Dominic does a great show, an absolutely wonderful show. But they pay such close attention to these live streaming numbers. So if the live streaming numbers are down from when Dominic is usually on in that slot, it really does look bad for me. And if the live streaming numbers are up, then all of a sudden, my job is safe for another day. So, Dominic's been filling in on this 3 p.m. show. I'm not sure what's going to become of that midnight slot if he gets that 3 p.m. show permanently. And, I'd certainly love to be considered, but I'll only be considered if we can show a big pop in the audience tonight at 12. So I don't know what we're going to do. I have kind of a busy day for the next 6.5 hours. So we'll see. I've reached out to Michael Goodwin to see if he wants to come on. I haven't heard. He did email me back, but I answer all emails in chronological order, and I'm not up to his email yet. So I don't know if he said that he can do it or can't do it. But in any event, I would ask you to please tune in online so that people see that you're tuning in. I would ask you to tune in at wabcradio.com, especially those of you that watch around the country. I would love to hear from you. Tune in at wabcradio.com, or if you have the app, just go to use the 77 WABC app, or you can just tell your smart speaker, your Alexa, to play 77 WABC tonight at midnight rather than just at 1 o'clock. So that is going to be tonight at midnight, 12 to 1, technically tomorrow, technically Friday morning. One thing that I wanted to mention, and I don't remember if I mentioned this on air, is, does anybody remember, there's been a lot of renewed focus and a lot of attention on OJ, and I'm thinking about OJ again because I'm going on Dan Abrams tonight, and he was so involved in that OJ trial. Does anybody remember in the aftermath of the OJ trial, when he was acquitted, but before the civil suit, that he did football commentary? And I remember at least one game on radio that he called, and I was in the car with my step cousin Martin, and OJ was calling the game, and Martin basically said, "How can they do that? They're sitting there with a murderer." And I think he may have even done one or two games for NBC Sports. But I tried to look online to see if anybody else had any recollection of that, and I couldn't find that. So if anybody remembers or has any documentation to that effect, comment here or just email me. You can email me at frank.morano at redappleaudionetworks.com. That's frank.morano at redappleaudionetworks.com. Does anybody remember that, or is that the Mandela effect? Is that me just not understanding what's going on? Those of you that are interested in the New York court system, and I know this is kind of a dry topic, kind of a boring topic. New York's court system is Byzantine in its complexity. That's right. Those are the criminal courts in New York. You got the Supreme Court, county courts, district courts, criminal courts, city courts, town courts, village courts. And that's before you even get to the appellate division. You might think, okay, that's the criminal courts. What about the civil courts? They must be simple and easy to understand. No, you got the court of claims, family court, surrogate court, county court, Supreme Court, district courts, New York City civil courts, city courts, town courts, village courts. So yesterday, I did an hour-long video with Judge Phil Stranieri, an experienced jurist, a guy that was a judge in New York City, acting supreme and a civil court for over 20 years. And we really got into the nitty-gritty of New York's court system and the structure of New York's court system and how it might be able to be reformed. It's something that nobody understands. And I thought this was a really good discussion, but because it's not really like a sexy issue like abortion or worms in Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s brain or, the border, I think a lot of people don't watch it, and it is reflected in the algorithm. So after you finish watching this video, if you could go back and watch yesterday's video on New York's court system, I think it's educational. I think it's formative, a little dry, but I think it is interesting. And if you could share that with anybody else that you know that might be interested in the court system, that would be delightful. As far as tonight's show, I really do hope you will tune in. Debbie Schlessel is going to join us to talk movies. I also love to pick her brain on current events. And we're going to do Ask Frank Anything in the first hour. And a fan favorite, Elliot Gordon, is going to join us in the second hour as well. If you missed any of yesterday's show, or this morning's show, technically, I thought it was a lot of fun. We had Neil Pawlik on, a guy who was an addict of marijuana, also a three-time Jeopardy champion and a best-selling author. We had a very funny panel with Fred Rubino and Barry Goldsmith, and then broke down the news of the day with Brian Kilmeade. And for any of you that say that I'd never give an alternative view on the Ukraine situation or any of these other foreign policy situations, you need only listen to that interview with Brian Kilmeade to see that we do give an alternative view. If you want to check out the podcast, you can go to fmwabc.com or just search the Other Side of Midnight in any podcast app. You can listen right now, and you can check that out. As you can see, I'm wearing my shirt from the Racket Report from the WABC radio store. I picked up my son from his nap, and he saw my shirt, and he pointed, and he says, "That's you, Daddy." And he's right. That is me. If you want one of these shirts, just go to WABCradiostore.com, and they have a whole promotion that they're doing now where if you spend $30 on any of my stuff, you can I'll give you a free autographed picture for any of you that want that. So that's all at WABCradiostore.com. And whatever you end up buying there, whether it's my stuff or somebody else's, you can just use the promo code Frank15, and you will get a little bit of a discount, 15% off or so. Have you seen the new portrait of King Charles? To me, it is the most ridiculous thing in the world. And I've seen a number of comparisons on social media, and I think they're very apt because this was the first thing that occurred to me, to Ghostbusters 2. It really does look like Vigo in Ghostbusters 2, and the color that surrounds King Charles, if you remember Ghostbusters 2, is also the color of the slime in that picture. So it is really ridiculous. Yeah, I agree with Ellen. It is creepy looking. It's ridiculous. I don't know how he could pay for anything like that. How is my neck? Better. I think it's better. It still itches a little bit. And by the way, those of you that thought I was exaggerating about having a Statler and Waldorf doll in my office, I certainly have that here. Boom. Okay. So we're going to do Ask Frank Anything tonight. If you have questions from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., or if you have suggestions of what I should do on Dominic's show that's kind of interesting, you kind of have to go more in a mode of what Dominic does rather than the kind of thing that I normally do. But Marianne asked, who would you pick for former Trump's vice president? Well, look, the person I would pick is obviously Tulsi Gabbard, because she's my favorite, because I agree with her on the most issues. I also really love Vivek Ramaswamy, particularly when it comes to foreign policy. But things never work out for me like that. So I would never be lucky enough to see him pick either Tulsi Gabbard or Vivek Ramaswamy. I think he's going to go with a safe choice, like a Pence-style choice. The name that I hear bandied about most often is Doug Burgum. Prior to the State of the Union, I would have said the easy choice was Katie Britt, but honestly, I don't think that she did herself any favors with that rebuttal to the State of the Union. If you have, it's funny. I never can understand the number of odd complaints in the Facebook group. We have this Facebook group, and I thought this complaint that we had the other day was so bizarre. We did an hour all about Frank Sinatra, and this one fella, he says, if Morano had a brain, he could have scheduled the Sinatra Talk segment into an all-night affair. That's why Frank will never rise to the cream. He just can't think big. Sinatra could have been the best show of the year. I mentioned this yesterday, but the video got cut off a little bit. If you want to join this Facebook group, be my guest, but be warned, you can go to facebook.com/group/Radio Moreno. This guy really wanted me to do 4 hours on a great entertainer, Frank Sinatra, but he's been dead for 25 years, more. I mean, I thought I was pushing it doing just an hour. I mean, that's the thing with our show is you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of aliens, a little bit of politics, a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of cultural issues, a little bit of inside radio gossip, a little bit of, family drama, a little bit, authors, you just never know what to expect with our show. I think that's one of the things that makes it unique and makes it good. Christina says he's an idiot, Frank. Well, Christina, I'm just happy he's still listening. So that's that. Ellen, on the subject of Trump's vice president, we all know it won't be Kristi Noem. Right. That's another person who torpedoed her chances as soon as she was outed as a dog murderer. Please subscribe. It's only 99 cents a month. It is a great bargain. It's probably the best use of 99 cents a month. I think if you saw the behind the scenes video that we did with Barry Goldsmith and Fred Rubino this morning, you would see it's absolutely worth the money just for videos like that alone. I'm trying to think of something fun that we can do tonight just for the subscribers, but there's all sorts of stuff. Those of you that don't want to subscribe, please be so good as to send stars. My wife was just going over with me the tuition that we may still end up having to pay for Carmine. I'll talk about that a little bit on the radio, but it is substantial, and this is just for preschool. So send us some stars so that we can still afford to send Carmine to preschool. I saw this this headline, which I really like. Let me try and find this here. I didn't pull the screenshot. But in essence, President Biden is he is launching a tariff on Chinese-made goods. Now, obviously, this is kind of a new position for him because, he had criticized Trump on tariffs. And honestly, Trump's tariffs position is one of the things that I that I liked most about him, honestly. And that was great. And a lot of people are saying, oh, Biden is a Johnny come lately. And that's true, but I think it's great. I love that Biden is doing this, and I don't care who's doing it. And I don't care if it is only for political purposes, but I think that is wonderful. So I am all for what he is doing on that. Those of you that are in South Jersey this weekend, please check out tomorrow the opening, if you're a cigar smoker, of the Tennessee Avenue Tobacco Company Cigar Lounge. It's a great spot that my friend Mark Colazzo is opening tomorrow. It's on Tennessee Avenue in Atlantic City. So for anybody that's in Atlantic City this week, you should absolutely check out this Tennessee Avenue Tobacco Company. It's a great spot, and Mark's a great guy that has been a big part of the renaissance of what's going on in what they call the Orange Loop. I commented about the debate yesterday that Trump and Biden are going to have. The interesting thing, I'm not going to repeat everything I said about the debate, but the interesting thing to me in looking at these polls in the presidential race, and I am not a guy that pays too much attention to these polls because we see how often they're wrong, but is how well Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing among young people and people that get their news primarily from something other than MSNBC and Fox News. He's winning because the young people haven't had their narrative poisoned by these, baby boomer news outlets. If you are a young person and you like the things that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying, it's so important that you listen to my program every day from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. because every day there's a different person that says, oh, you're not for Trump, I'm not going to be listening to you anymore. And I'm sure some of them are not listening anymore. But if we can show that, all these people that are flocking to RFK because they get their news outside of traditional media, that there's at least some traditional media, in this case me, that is still telling the truth about Biden and Trump, or as I call them, bump, then there's a place for you guys on the traditional media, in this case, my show. I was talking to someone yesterday, and then I'm going to wrap up because I do have to put this thing together. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they said, "Oh, what we need in a mayor of New York City." This is someone who's a very liberal Democrat, hates Donald Trump. It's a name you would know. I'm not going to share it, but they can't stand Donald Trump. But they said, "I wish Trump would run for mayor of New York City because they feel like he would do something about the crime situation." You know who should really run for mayor of New York City? Because obviously, I'm for Curtis, and I worked on his campaign. Probably do that again. But any Republican is kind of going to be limited to the maximum at about 35% of the vote citywide. The only way to really beat Adams, if Adams even ends up running again, is in a Democratic primary. You know who should end up running? And I've thought a lot about this. Peter Vallone Jr. Now, I know he's a judge now. He may not want to come off the bench, but I have to think he's got enough years in the system that are pensionable that he doesn't need this job in order to pay his bills, meaning being a judge. He does a great job as a judge in Queens County, but he would be the ideal mayoral candidate. So those of you, I'm trying to get that going. I may write a letter to the editor of that, to that effect, that Peter Vallone Jr. should get something going on that. Then, did you see that these students at Princeton are ending their hunger strike? They were doing an anti-Israel hunger strike. They're ending it because of safety concerns, or whatever they were claiming. They're ending their hunger strike at Princeton after 9 days. Okay, they're saying that this is due. I don't mean to laugh. They're saying that this is due to health consequences or concerns about health consequences. Now, I feel the same way about this that I did about the Tom Brady roast. Well, you didn't know that if you stopped eating, there would be health consequences. That's the whole point of a hunger strike. That people, that's kind of what Gandhi was trying to do. That people are going to be so moved and so concerned about your health that they're going to acquiesce to whatever you want. Well, it turns out in the case of these 13 students at Princeton that were drinking only water, not eating anything, that nobody cared that they were starving to death. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. Don't announce that you're going to go on a hunger strike if you're going to stop that hunger strike as soon as you get hungry. So hopefully you have a happy breakfast. Those of you that are watching this, thank you to Stacy and Grace and James and Michael and Anthony and Nikki and Joseph and Marianne who are watching this. Those of you that are watching this, please either retweet or share so that more people see this. Then lastly, I posted something on Facebook yesterday I think is really interesting. The fellow that won the primary for West Virginia governor, and it's West Virginia is a very red state, so he's probably going to be the governor, is Patrick Morrisey, the current attorney general of West Virginia. He had actually ran for Congress years ago after Congressman Franks left in New Jersey. Born in Brooklyn, raised in Jersey, ran for Congress in Jersey. Didn't work out well for him. I think he finished last in a field of 4. So then he moves to West Virginia and ultimately gets involved in politics down there, becomes attorney general. Now he's going to be the new governor. And one of the fellas that lost in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate yesterday in West Virginia is this fellow by the name of Alex Mooney. He's a congressman down there now. Before he was a congressman in West Virginia and an elected official in West Virginia, he was a state senator in Maryland. And I thought that was so interesting that he actually was able to get elected in 2 different states. Before he was a state senator in Maryland, he was a candidate for the state legislature in New Hampshire. So West Virginia is actually the 3rd state that he's run for office in and the 2nd state that he's been elected. I'm really fascinated by people that have been managed to get elected popularly in 2 different states. I'm not talking about people who were appointed by the state legislature in different places. I hear my wife sighing, so I'm going to wrap this up. But people that have actually been able to get elected by the voters in those places. So yesterday I put a question out on Facebook asking if anyone knows any other examples of people that have gotten elected in multiple states, or if someone has run for office in more than 3 states. If you know, feel free to comment on that. One person pointed out the example of Willard Mitt Romney. That's certainly a good one. I know obviously Sam Houston was governor of 2 different states, but if you know any other ones, feel free to comment either here or elsewhere. All right. Please tune in. Dan Abrams tonight at 9 p.m. Please tune in tonight. Dominic Carter at midnight. Carmine, you want to say hello to the Facebook people? No? Okay. And obviously, please tune in to me from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Oh, hey, Carmine. Oh, you got an ice pop? Want me to give you an ice pop? Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi. Do you want people to send us stars?
Yeah.
So that you can afford ice pops? And claws? Yeah.
I have orange ice pop.
Oh, an orange ice pop. All right. You send stars so we can buy this young man some more orange ice pops. Hey, who's on Daddy's shirt?
You.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me. All right. So you can get one of those shirts yourself at WABCRadiostore.com. All right. I'm off to put together a container that is very easy to put together. We'll see if that's true. And then try to think of something compelling for Dominic's show today. And get ready for Dan Abrams. I better learn something about this Kevin Spacey case if I'm going to talk about it, right? All right. Please share this. Please listen. I'll see you on the radio.